So we can take our meditation postures. Be in a very comfortable sitting posture, keeping your legs crossed, hands very comfortably and in a relaxed way kept on your lap, and keep your eyes lightly closed. And now completely relax your whole body. Just scan your body and see if there is any tightness, and just loosen it out. Make yourself relaxed and comfortable and still so that you don't have to move or adjust your posture during the meditation. And now bring your attention to your breathing. And just watch your breathing, the in breath and the small gap, then the out breath, and again a small gap before the next in breath. So just keep watching your natural and effortless flow of breathing. Just observe how it is happening on its own. When you focus on your breath, the mind becomes still. And so today, let us prepare ourselves to get knowledge about another law of this creation, which is the law of polarity. So you can shift your attention to the words of knowledge here, and as you listen, you can also keep thinking and contemplating about it. So this is one of the very amazing and interesting law of the universe, which is the law of polarity. So what does this law say? According to this law, everything in this creation has two poles. There is polarity. So there are two extremes of anything and everything. Extremes means there is light and there is dark. There is black and there is white. There is love and there is hate. So there are all pairs of opposites. You can observe them everywhere. When you pay attention, you will find these two poles of things, these two extremes everywhere. There is hot and there is cold, positive and negative. There is happiness and there is sadness, success, failure, male, female, anger and calmness, beautiful and ugly. There is good and evil. There is anabolism and catabolism. There is north and south. There is sympathetic and parasympathetic, which we speak so much in meditation. There is pushing and pulling. So many. Everything. Everything has a pair, is a pair of opposites. There are always two extremes. And that is why this law is also called as the law of dualities or law of polarities. And while we observe that everything is two totally opposite extremes, but here the very interesting thing to note is that they are not actually opposites. So how can it be? It seems so obvious that beautiful and ugly, they are totally opposite. How is it that they are not opposite? But they are actually the same. And this is a surprising thing. How come they are same? How come hot and cold is same? How come love and hate are same? It cannot be. Love and hate are totally opposite. So if we observe, we'll find that they are just the same attribute. They are parts of only one attribute in different proportions. For example, hot and cold, they are attributes of this physical thing which is temperature. They are just degrees of temperature which we perceive as hot or cold. And love and hate, they are just degrees of affection. When there is high affection, when there is a high degree of affection, we call it love. And when there is very low affection, then we call that as hate. So these are all degrees of the same underlying thing, the same thing. Light and dark, they are degrees of illumination. How well something is illuminated, depending on that, we call it either light or dark. North and south, they are degrees of magnetism. And male and female, masculine and feminine, they are the spectrum of a gender, of this quality of gender. And push and pull, they are the attributes of the direction of force. So actually, they are just two different things of one single attribute. Love and hate is the same. Rich and poor is the same. They are just defined, rich and poor are defined as per the financial status only. This is the only one quality. So you can observe in your own experience that everything of these which seem as two different polarities, they are not two extremes, but they are just points on the same scale, on one measurement only. These are two extremes, and there are in betweens also many times. So why does this polarity exist? Why do things in this creation exist in form of extremes? So to understand this, we can take an example, like imagine if there is only one thing, like in between light and dark, there is only light, suppose. Then, and there is no dark, then there will be no experience of light. So how can it be? When there is no dark, then there will be no experience of light also, because there is no contrast. Whatever is there, there is only one thing, which is light. There is light only. So that will be the only one and default thing. So we would also not call it light, because that is the only one thing. So with this, we can see that without dark, light also does not exist. We cannot call light in the absence of dark. I hope I can make it clear. You can think a little about it, think deeper, then it will click you that only when there is contrast, then only something can be experienced. Only when there is dark, then only light can be experienced. Or if there is dark, if there is light, then dark can be experienced. So without the other opposite, there is no experience. That means without the other extreme, there is no existence of the opposite thing. So one polarity, one pole has to be present to for the existence of the other pole. You know? So when there is only one, that means there is no change. And as we discussed in the previous law of impermanence, that why there is change, why there is impermanence, because creation cannot happen without change. So impermanence is a necessity for creation. Without impermanence, it is not possible to have a creation. So nothing exists without change. And this change can happen only when there are contrasts, when there are two opposite things. Only when there is some change, only when there is some differentiation. One thing is different to other, one thing is in contrast with the other, only then they can be identified separately, only then they can be experienced as individual things. Otherwise, if there is only one, that means there is no experience. There has to be some separation. Then only there is some experience. Otherwise, it will all be just one. Like, for example, suppose you are in a desert where you see only sand, miles and miles and miles of infinite stretches of sands. There is nothing else there, no change, no contrast, no change in topography. So will there be any kind of experience there? There is only one experience. There is only one thing which you see. There is no distinction. So this is how we can understand that when there is no duality, when there is no change, then there is no experience and there is no existence, no creation. So for the creation to happen, duality is a must. It is a necessity. Again, another, like for example, take a duality of sound and silence. They are opposite, isn't it? So if there is only silence, then what would you call it? There is no noise. There is only one thing, which is silence. So you wouldn't experience anything there because you never experience noise. You never experience the contrasting, the other polarity. So now you will never know what is silence because you have never experienced anything like noise. So this is why one extreme cannot exist without the other. Like if I consider me or myself, then I exist. It is because the others are there. I can experience myself only because there are others. So me, when I say me, that means there is there is other. There is someone else also other than me. There are two. So the experience can happen only when there is a duality. Unless there is no duality, there is no creation. And this is what is explained exactly in terms of the oneness, in the terms of the one, the ultimate reality, or the divine, what we call, or the one and only Brahma, as it is said in the Upanishads. Or sometimes it is called as Shiva, the only one. Shiva, which like the Adi Shankaracharya's composition is there, Nirvana Shatakam. You must have heard. This is a beautiful and very famous composition which says that Chidananda Rupo Shivoham Shivoham. So these are all the names of that one, which is the source of creation. So why did all these dualities appear in the one? Because that source is one. There is no differentiation there. It is the one and it is the only. So imagine that you are the only one and you are the only one and you are the whole existence. There is nothing except you. Now, what can you experience there? Everything is you there. The whole field. So when you are that one only, and there is nothing except you, then what can you experience? Everything is you and only you. No contrast, no differentiation. So, for this creation to come into existence, there is a necessity of duality. When there are two, then only something can be experienced. When there is only me, I cannot experience myself. So, for experiencing myself, this one has to be split. One has to become two. So here happens the first split or the first duality which appears, which is of the subject and the object, where I am the subject and then there appears something which I experience, and that is the object. So this first split of the subject and object, and this in the Upanishadic terms, it is also called as the Shiv and Shakti. The Shiv is the one, the source, where there is no activity because it is the only one. So that is why it is commonly said that Shiv is like shower. It is absolute. It has potential, but unless there is a creation of a second, the creation cannot happen. So the duality has to happen in the one, which we call the duality. The second we call as Shakti. So Shiv and Shakti together. Then only when there are only two, when there are these two, then only creation can happen. So this is these are the deeper meanings of when Shiv and Shakti combine, then the creation happens. This is the exact meaning of why duality is required for creation. Shiv alone cannot create. It has to divide into two. In fact, it doesn't divide, but there has to appear duality. The first contrast. This is the first contrast of the Shiva Shakti, the masculine energy and the feminine energy, the Ardhanarishwara. And it has been called by many names. Like in Sankhya Yoga, it is called as Purush and Prakriti. Purush is the source, and Prakriti is the creation, which is created from the source. So when there is a split in the one, then only creation can happen. And this whole creation, it appears on that one. And we can call that one because that is the only one. There is nothing else than that. And it has no attribute. So it is just undefined. It is an undefined, undifferentiated being. It is the only one. So we can see that some differentiation is required for multitude, when multiple things have to appear, then there has to be differentiation. Without differentiation, multiple things cannot appear. For example, just imagine we are very much familiar with this, with the single cell zygote, isn't it? This cell has the potential for everything, for every kind of cell and tissue, but unless it divides, unless it differentiates into different contrasting types of tissues, then nothing will happen. Nothing will be created. If that zygote remains undifferentiated, it remains just as it is, then it will be only a potential. So this is how this was a, just a description of the polarities and why polarities exist. And they are actually the same thing. They are attributes of one, they are just poles of the same attribute. And this polarity is a necessity, is a necessity for creation to happen. If there is no differentiation, the zygote will remain a zygote only, with the potential only. So all these polarities arise because they enable distinction, perception. Unless there is polarities, we cannot perceive anything. When there is only one, so there cannot be any experience, there cannot be any change without duality. I hope it was not a very complex thing, or I hope this was a bit clear. Maybe, I don't know, I was able to explain it. And this knowledge of duality is such a liberating knowledge. Why it is liberating? And what is the meaning of liberating? So liberating means, in the spiritual terms, liberation means freedom from the cycle of births and deaths. So this is what is defined as liberation, which is called mukti. Mukti from the cycle of birth and death. So what gives this liberation? So when this knowledge of the law of polarity is there, then based on that, we can get the knowledge of non-duality. From the knowledge of duality, we can, or rather through the knowledge of duality, we can come to know the knowledge of non-duality. And this knowledge of non-duality is the ultimate knowledge. This is the ultimate knowledge, which is also called as the knowledge of oneness. So, and in Sanskrit it is called as Brahma Gyan. So the knowledge of non-duality is called as Brahma Gyan, the knowledge of oneness, that everything is one. And from that, dualities appear. And this is a very systematic knowledge, and it is so simple. It is so simple to know that from the non-duality or from the oneness, the duality is created. And this ultimate knowledge, people think that it is such a difficult thing to get. The Brahma Gyan means something so great. And it is not. It is so simple to know. You can know, you can find it with your own experience. And this is the basis of the ultimate, which is everyone's desire, which is liberation. So I think it's almost 10:30. So next session I'll elaborate more on this law of polarity, law of duality, as well as what the knowledge of law of duality can bring for me, for us. What this knowledge can bring for me. What is the implication of this knowledge in my life, in my evolution, in my daily life, as well as in the spiritual life. So we'll discuss about it in the next session, maybe tomorrow. So I hope this was not a very confusing session. So we can just sit in silence for 5 minutes or so and just contemplate and just try to assimilate whatever we have listened to just now. Just contemplate on it. Does it click something for you? The knowledge of non-duality is the highest knowledge, which is called as Advaita, not two, non-dual. This is the highest philosophy, the highest knowledge is, which is Advaita. And this is what was the teaching which Shankaracharya revived. This is the eternal knowledge, the Sanatan, which has been there since eternity, and which Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, he revived. This is the highest knowledge anyone should aim for. Aim for the highest. If you want to continue in this meditation, then you may please continue for longer time. And whenever you want to come out of the meditation, you may do that. And those who want to come out of the meditation, and gently become aware of your surroundings, where you're sitting in your room. Become aware of your body and the sensations. Move your fingers slowly and gently open your eyes.